Okay, here's another example of one of the problems. So here's try it number 1. It's asking us to graph one full cycle. Okay, and it's a cosine graph. So let's go through and list the amplitude, the period, the vertical and the horizontal translations. So looking at this equation, the amplitude would be 3. The period would be 2 pi divided by 4. So what's 2 pi divided by 4? My period would be pi over 2. So by the time I hit pi over 2, I should have one full cycle. I have a vertical translation on this graph. I'm subtracting 2 from the front. So I have a vertical translation of down 2. And I have a horizontal translation of right, because it's opposite of what's inside there. Pi divided by 4. So I'm going right pi over 4. Okay? So if I want to go through and label my x-axis, if I want to do one full period by the time I get to pi over 2, can I just call this pi over 2? If I call this pi over 2, then halfway in between 0 and pi over 2 would be pi over 4. And that would go there. When I want to graph one full cycle, I need 5 dots. So that'd be 1, that'd be 2, that'd be 3, I need to do 4, and I need to do 5. So what's halfway in between 0 and pi over 4? Pi over 8, right? And so every time I go up one of these blue units, I'm going up by pi over 8. That's 1/8, 2/8. This would then be 3/8. And then you have your 4/8. Okay? I'm going to do amplitude and y-axis as 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3 to -4. Alright, so now I've listed all my information. I've graphed my x-axis and my y-axis. Now I've got to start graphing my equation. Okay, so let's start graphing our equation. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to go ahead and just start with this for now. So what would an equation y equals 3 cosine 4x look like? Well, normally a cosine graph would start at 1. But our amplitude is 3, so we're actually going to start at 3. Then we would go down to 0. Then we would go down to -3. Then we would go up to 0, and then we would go up to +3. And so a 3 cosine 4x graph would look something like this. Okay, where my amplitude is 3, up 3, down to -3. My period is my pi over 2, and it looks like that. There's no horizontal or vertical shifts. Okay, but now I've got to add in my vertical shift and my horizontal shift. Let's just do it one at a time, okay? Let's do our vertical shift first. So if I was going to go graph my vertical shift of down 2, I'm going to take my graph and shift everything down 2. That's 1, 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 2. So now my new graph shifted down 2 is going to look like this. But now I still have to do my horizontal shifts. I've got to do my right 1/4. Okay? So let's look at my graph and figure out where 1/4 is going to be. If I'm trying to shift my graph, let me move this up a little bit. If I'm trying to shift, let's start here at 0. Oops, where do we want to go? We want to go to the green one, right? If I'm here at 0, and I want to shift it to the right 1/4, that means how many of these blue units would I go? Well, if I'm going over 1/4, don't I have to go past the 1/8 to the 1/4, pi over 4? So I need to go over 2 blue units. I'm going to take this green dot, and I'm going to move it over 1/4 to the right, meaning here. Then I'm going to take my next dot, and I'm going to move it over the next green dot, and move it over 2 blue units. That's 1, 2 to the right. I'm shifting everything over right pi over 4 units. So now I'm going to take this one and I want to go over 2 blue units to the right. 1, 2. I want to take this dot and shift it over 2 blue units to the right. That's 1 and about 2. We're going off our graph a little bit. We might need to extend our graph maybe a little bit more like that. Okay? So where am I now? I want to take this last unit and I want to shift it over 2 more to the right. 1, 2. And so now your new cosine graph should look something like that. You shifted now down 1, 2. You shifted over right pi over 4. That's 2 blue units over to the right. And so your final cosine graph should look like that. Okay? Do your best. Label all your parts, your amplitude, your period, your vertical translation, your horizontal translation. Label your axis and then go from there. I know you can all do it.